Coming up on the DLLS Mavericks pregame show, whose magic is stronger, Luka's or Orlando's, as the Mavericks look for a bounce-back win as they continue their homestand. All that and more coming up here on the DLLS Mavericks pregame show. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single game night. You can find me on X at Kevin Gray Sports, at Tim_Cato. Your Dallas Mavericks back in action tonight as they take on the Orlando Magic as they continue their 5-game homestand. Got to get you ready over the next 30 minutes on the pregame show. What to watch for, X factors, and what we'll think will happen in tonight's game between the Mavericks and the Orlando Magic. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports here on YouTube. And Tim Cato, it's game night for your Dallas Mavericks as they take on Orlando, looking for a bounce-back win after falling on Halloween to the Houston Rockets on Thursday.
Yeah, it's all about the offense tonight. It's about Luka. It's about, Orlando is going to be, they're a tough task defensively for any team that has to go up against them. Yes, they're missing Paolo. They're not going to have as much offensive punch, but that defense is still there.
Yes,
Paolo's certainly a part of it, but there's no questions about that. But if this is supposed to be, if this Mavericks team is able to be a top 5 offense in the NBA, like we think they can be, maybe even better than that, this is a great opportunity for them to get back on track and to rise above what is a challenge, but a surmountable one. One that I think Dallas can, prove that this slow start, from themselves, from Luka, is something that they're going to start building from and improving on as soon as tonight.
Mavericks, of course, 3-2 on the first night of a back-to-back at home as they take on the Magic tonight before they welcome in Rick Carlisle and the Indiana Pacers tomorrow night. Continue what is a 5-game homestand, off to an 0-1 start after falling to the Rockets 108-102 on Thursday. Of course, a 23-point comeback that they were trying to complete, falling short late in the fourth quarter. Got as close to within 3 late in that fourth, but not able to complete that comeback. Luka Doncic, of course, having 15 points in that fourth quarter, going 6 of 8 from the field, 3 of 4 from downtown. Maybe starting to get his legs under him as we get ready for Orlando tonight. Hopefully for Luka Doncic, getting off to a better start for him is going to be the name of the game for the Mavericks tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's the first quarters have not been good enough, like just objectively so. Like I've been watching these first quarters, and I'm like, what's this team doing? Like, what's the deal here? What's going on? So I think it's an easy, obvious place to start, but it's an important one because first quarters are so tone setting. They're so, in the NBA, you can coast a good quarter to a win all the way through. And so that's the mission for Dallas tonight, I think, and we'll see if they're up for it. But I think even internally, even inside the team, the coaching staff, everybody's talking about this being important for them right now.
A team that's got to be able to pick up the pace a little bit to be able to get out and run and be able to get some easy buckets in transition. Jason Kidd, during the pregame press conference, speaking to that very idea on how the Mavericks can get better in terms of picking up the pace, and it all starts on the glass. Here's Jason Kidd.
Yeah, that's easy. Just we can't, we can't foul. We're fouling too much. We're saying it's just we're in the bonus too soon, and we're just fouling. So we got to be ready defensively, use our feet, and tip your hat if they score. And then the other side of that is also being able to rebound the ball. We're 24th in the league at rebounding, and so you can't play fast if you're not being able to rebound. So we got to rebound and we got to stop fouling. But the pace has to pick up if we want any success.
Got to stop fouling and got to rebound better to be able to pick up that pace. Do you agree with what Jason Kidd had to say on that particular front there?
I mean, yeah. They haven't been doing those things. They're pretty good things to do. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a great starting point. It's it's not as simple as pick up the pace and rebound and everything's instantly fixed, but it's a big chunk of it. It gets you a lot of the ways there. So I think that's a healthy, ideal starting point for this team in terms of how they should be viewing this game. The pace has not been there. It was such a important calling card of last season, and they've been falling in that area. And to be able to run, you have to rebound. That was a huge reason why the Rockets game was played so slowly, was that they couldn't end possessions. And so if you keep giving up these offensive rebounds, there's nowhere to go. There's no outlet to make. If every time there's a missed shot, there's another opportunity given. Sometimes two different opportunities. And so that's a apt starting point for this team in terms of how to start to fix this.
Mavericks seen as 23rd in pace, currently looking to pick that up tonight as they take on the Orlando Magic. Magic 18th in offensive rating at 111.1, 7th in defensive rating at 108.7. Speaking of which, Tim was talking about a little bit earlier how the defense for Orlando is still there even without their star and Paolo Banchero. Magic have lost 3 of their last 4, including 2 in a row to the Bulls and the Cavs. By the way, for the Magic, this is the 3rd game of what is a 5-game road trip for them. This is the first night of a back-to-back as they play, of course, Dallas tonight, and then they'll be on the road tomorrow night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So they will be looking, of course, to try to get a win themselves after not having played well in their last couple of road games for them. 21st in field goal percentage are the Orlando Magic at 44.9% and 19th in the league currently right now, with points per game at 111.7. Tim, this is a team that's number 8 in steals per game, but the Mavericks so far this year, the best in the NBA at protecting the basketball, only 10.6 turnovers per contest. Orlando likes to take away the basketball. The Mavericks are really good at protecting it. How do they continue to keep that up tonight against Orlando and their defense?
Yeah, I mean, this is a hallmark of any Luka team, of the Luka era. Dallas is always consistently one of the teams that turns it over the least when he's in charge, because as much as he's susceptible for a 8 turnover game here and there, he's the one making all of the risk. And as a risk taker, he is not that prone to making mistakes. Not on a above average rate compared to other teams around the league, other superstars. And so yeah, I mean, but turnovers they're not inherently a bad thing. You can't finish a game with 0. Having some turnovers represents the willingness to, for risk sometimes. And when it comes to the team getting out in transition, I do think that's important. A turnover, if it takes a few turnovers to get that fast break transition stuff going, I think that's a net win overall for the team. So it's all about balancing those two, obviously, but I think that's when you're really looking at the team and trying to dial into what's important. That stands out to me.
Let us know in the chat as well how you're feeling about tonight's game as the Mavericks look for a bounce-back win against the Orlando Magic. I know a lot of folks are in here who watched the Cowboys game a little bit earlier, upset about what happened against the Atlanta Falcons. Bright side is Mavericks on the court tonight. Let us know how you're feeling about the Mavericks taking on Orlando in tonight's game. Magic are going to be leaning on Franz Wagner, who's averaging 17.7 points per game. Of course, Paolo Banchero out with the oblique injury, going to be out for the next potential couple of months for Orlando. Jalen Suggs, their best defensive perimeter player, averaging 18.7 points per game. And
really
also,
nice player.
Yeah, really good player. Got a nice deal from Orlando before the season started as well, averaging 2.3 steals per game as well. So you've got to be on your P's and Q's with Jalen Suggs, who's a terrific perimeter defender in this league.
Oh yeah. Just a really, really nice player. I'm a big Anthony Black fan as well, and coming off the bench for them, So it's just this is a nice team. It's just it's not quite there yet, and without Paolo, it really lacks a lot of the punch. But they've got solid rising players. They've got certainly defenders galore. I would suspect that what we see defensively from them is going to look similar to pretty much every team all season. That this is not going to be a team that's going to send doubles at Luka, unless Luka gets to the point that he's forcing them to do that. This is not a team that's going to, overhelp at the expense of leaving a bunch of open shooters all around the perimeter. I think that the strategy that Orlando has seen deployed for 5 games and certainly for a lot of last season as well, I would imagine that's pretty similar to what we see there. Mosley, Jamal Mosley, the head coach, was asked about it, and he said, he wasn't going to talk about Luka or his struggles or anything. That
Sure.
He wasn't going to poke the bear. Wasn't going to talk strategy. But again, I mean, it's clearly been something that has been really frustrating Dallas's ability to be, the offense that they expect themselves to be. And so I do think that's something that we're going to see again. And once again, if you keep getting the same challenge over and over and over again, if you're a team like Dallas, eventually you just have to solve it.
Yeah.
When you're an offense led by Luka Doncic, you can solve anything. You truly can. Like, you can literally solve any defense. It's very possible for this team to be better against this type of defensive scheme. Even against a good defense like Orlando. It's just a matter of time until it happens. And a lot of that rests and lies on Luka Doncic and his ability to be more efficient and to be the player that we expect him to be, the, MVP candidate type player. He just hasn't been that so far.
Yeah, and of course, Jamal Mosley, former assistant coach with the Dallas Mavericks, knows Luka very well. If you remember them working together when they were here in Dallas, Luka working with Jamal Mosley during pre-games, and they would be together quite a bit. So these two know each other very well, so an interesting chess match within the game itself with Luka Doncic and, of course, Jamal Mosley. From the Mavericks' perspective, 16th in offensive rating so far this year at 111.9, 13th in defensive rating at 111 even. Luka and Kyrie combining for 57 points in the game against the Rockets in that loss. Mavericks so far this year, we've talked a lot about how we feel like this offense could be historic going into this year. So far, obviously, a very small sample size, so obviously keeping that in context. But so far, 22nd in the NBA in points per game at 110.8, 24th in the league right now in field goal percentage at 44%. We're hoping that continues to go up and increase as this offense starts to find a little bit more rhythm, solving some of those offensive problems, starting with Luka Doncic is a great starting point. Obviously, with Luka and also with Klay and Kyrie, you feel like that can start to turn itself around. But so far, the offense at times has been good. Other times it's been inconsistent. Looking to see if some of that can improve tonight against a good defensive team in Orlando here.
You sound like Bobby, with all these stats over here.
I came prepared. Bobby wasn't here on the show, so I had to pull my best Bobby Curl. I'm not even going to
Where is Bobby Carollo?
He'll be here. He'll be here at halftime. He'll be here at halftime.
I have doubts.
He's in an unknown location at this
Unknown
point.
location.
That's
well,
right.
Keep him there.
That's right.
Keep him there. Yeah. I already forgot the
okay.
prompt.
I
Yeah.
like this comment though in the chat though. From this is PRAWNG123. I don't know how you say your username, but I'm gonna spell it out anyway. We need an efficient game. Talking about the offense when it comes to the
Talking
Mavericks.
about Luka too, I think.
Yes, and Luka as well. Yeah, definitely want to get off to a good start and be efficient, especially with knowing how good of a defense you're playing against tonight.
I need less mid-rangers from him.
Oh, you need less in the mid-range tonight from him.
Yeah. I really do think it'd be beneficial if he can get back into that floater range, that 3 to 10 feet from the rim, and hit those shots. Crucially, he's also been a little bit errant from that region of the court so far this season. But he's Luka Doncic. Like, we know those shots are going to go in. His very first shot against the Rockets, mid-range.
Yeah.
About 16-footer. Step back 16-foot jumper. Is that the way? That's not the way that Luka going through a shooting slump needs to be starting games. Get to the rim, get layups, get floaters, take threes within the offense. I believe it was the shot that also, maybe it didn't draw them to 3 points, but he had a big three late in the game. He had a few big threes.
Yeah.
But he had one that sparked a Houston timeout. Catch and shoot jumper.
Yeah.
Within the rhythm of the offense. You know something about catch and shoot jumpers? You can't have the ball.
You can't have
the ball to get the ball back to you for a catch and shoot jumper.
That's right.
So just trusting the offense a little bit more, especially early on, especially within the context of the starting lineups. This is always something, this is something Luka can do. He's very capable of it. Nobody's doubting him, his ability to, pass the ball, pass up the rock, and, at times, to a degree. But I think these are all things that lean into that help address the fact that he's been struggling, and I think will just lead to a healthier version of his game. If he can just give it up a little bit more, really focus on high quality, efficient shots early on, rather than just spamming stuff from the mid range. The mid range to me is always where he goes when he's heating up.
Sure.
When on nights where I know that it's about to be a special Luka game, he will take a type of mid-ranger that he usually doesn't take, a 16, 18-footer. And it's great. When you know that you're going like that, awesome.
Yeah.
Like you can have any shot you want. When you're when you've struggled through 5 games, and not just 5 games, but literally the first 5 games of the season, I want to see a layups and floaters and threes version of Luka out there, who's also getting shots within the context of the offense, like assisted shots. I think all of that all of that would lead to just a much more efficient version, a much more typical version of the Luka that we expect. That's my guess anyway. I'm making a prediction. I bet it would. I certainly think it would help. Maybe he's just a bad basketball player now.
No,
maybe he
I
can't make shots anymore. Maybe it's so over.
No, it's not over. It might be over for the Cowboys, but it's definitely not over for Luka and the Mavericks.
Yeah, I don't think it's over for 25-year-old Luka Doncic.
That's right.
I think that's safe to say. And so I just think that all of those habits and traits leads to a healthier version of the Luka that we expect. A healthier version of Luka's game, I guess I should say. So
more on who's in, who's out, and X factors for tonight's game as the Mavericks take on the Orlando Magic as we continue here on the DLLS Mavs pregame show. But first, let me tell you about becoming a diehard member here at DLLS Sports. Go to alldlls.com/diehard to become a diehard member today. Special offer right now, just $4 a month. Just $4 a month. Become part of our DLLS Sports family here. You get 20% off events, premium content on our website, especially from our guy Tim Cato covering the Dallas Mavericks. Also, you've got pregame shows, postgame shows, member-only Discord as well. We've got a lot of great things going on there. I'm part of the wrestling chat that's in there because I'm a big WWE fan, so talking pro wrestling all the time. All kinds of stuff in our member-only Discord. Plus, you get a free T-shirt as well. So make sure you go to alldlls.com/diehard. Become a diehard member today. Again, just $4 a month. Limited time offer right now. Jump on that. Become part of our DLLS Sports family here. What you do, you get a physical diehard card as well. Make sure you tag us on social media. We'll shout you out, and you let us know that you're part of our family here at DLLS Sports. Again, it's alldlls.com/diehard. Become a diehard member today for just $4 a month. $4 a month for DLLS Sports. Again, become a diehard member here at alldlls.com/diehard. As we continue here on the DLLS Mavs pregame show, pregame leads you up to game time. The game at 6:30 p.m. tonight at the American Airlines Center. You can watch that game on KFAA Channel 29 or on Mavericks TV to be able to see the Mavericks taking on the Orlando Magic. Magic looking to take out the Mavericks. Mavericks with Luka Doncic in the last 11 games. Dallas has gone 8-3 in the last 11 games, including winning both games last year against Orlando. Luka Doncic averaging over 27 points per game, over 8 rebounds, and over 7 assists in his 11 career games against Orlando. So a lot of great success that Luka has had against his team. Speaking of Luka Doncic, one of the things that our guy Tim Cato was mentioning a little bit earlier, getting off to better starts for this team, playing with a sense of urgency. Jason Kidd speaking to some of that during his pregame press conference this evening and what he had to say about Luka and Klay and others getting off to a better start against Orlando tonight. Take a listen.
Yeah, I think in the past we've looked at Luka owning the first quarter, but as a team we are not owning. We're not owning the first quarter. We're at a deficit, in the scoring for sure. And so, looking at getting the rhythm, I think the positive energy, being able to get out and run, get some easy baskets, and then not giving up offensive rebounds will hopefully help our first quarter struggles here.
So Jason Kidd speaking to getting off to a better start and that being a catalyst for this team to play a little bit better. Obviously for you, Tim, that's something that I think you're going to be watching tonight for this team on how they come out, especially with Luka, Klay, and others being able to get off to a good start to really put themselves in a good position going forward for the rest of tonight's game.
It'd be pretty funny if I didn't watch for that.
No, it would be actually because, you write for the, cover and talk about the team. So
I spent all pregame show talking about it. And what if I'm just like, I'll pick it up in the second quarter. First quarters don't matter, guys. There's there's 3 quarters after that. You can do whatever you want in the first quarter. That's one thing. That's one thing to pay attention to. It's a lot about just the tone of the game.
Yeah,
I think that if this team, if we're gonna see a different version of Luka, he's not gonna heat up in the second quarter. We're gonna see Luka from the start.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to see if he's changing his habits, if he's a little bit more focused on quality shots, on getting the team out to run, on all these things that we keep going through, and recommending that he listen to us. And I'm sure this is pumping through the locker room right now. So I think that all that is going to take place right away. This is you don't get into the third quarter of a game and all of a sudden, if you feel like your habits need to change, that's when your habits change. It's going to be right away. And so I just think that the first 6 minutes of this game is going to be a good sense of whether, maybe shots are going. I care less about the score. I care about how the game looks.
Sure.
I care about how Luka looks. I care about how the offense looks. That to me is what is really going to stand out. And it will probably dictate whether this offense, finally is back to the level that we expect. And it's kind of the, and we're done with that storyline. Because if it's another slow, sluggish first quarter to this offense, they probably still find a way to win the game. I think that's decent, considering Paolo's out. But what are the odds that the offense is not still the main storyline, if that Luka is still the main storyline coming out of this game? Because Luka was the storyline coming out of the Houston game,
sure,
and he had a great fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That's not what Dallas is asking for him. They're asking him for great games, not quarters. Not one quarter that wasn't enough to overcome how bad, the opening three. And again, it's not just him, but he is, where he goes, this team follows. And so I do think that, it is quite possible that it is one of these, FU Luka games where he does just come out instantly motivated because there was just a little bit of criticism provided his way, from people like us, from other media members, from, his coaches saying that he needs to be better, that Luka has been the first quarter guy and he hasn't been that. So I do think it's very possible we see, that version of Luka right away. And certainly I think it's important to see the offense just making better choices, that their habits, that their, automisms just look sharper than they have in the past. In these past 5 games.
Yeah, the last time Luka Doncic saw the Orlando Magic had 45 points and 15 assists, so he likes to play well against the Orlando Magic. Mavericks 6.5-point favorite tonight against Orlando. When you start looking at who's in and who's out as far as the injury report is concerned, obviously the major one for Orlando, Paolo Banchero being out with the right oblique tear. He'll be out for the next several weeks as he works back from that injury. Wendell Carter Jr. is available for the Magic tonight. He's dealing with right knee tendonitis, but he is good to go and will be available for the Magic tonight. Of course, Dante Exum for the Mavericks remains out with his right wrist surgery. Maxi Kleber will miss his 4th straight game as he continues to deal with his right hamstring strain as well.
There was no timetable update on him, but it sounds like it's going to be another week or so.
Okay.
It might be like a 7 to 10 days. That's my hunch with Maxi. Can't know for sure.
Sure.
And certainly they're not going to, rush a player. Not that they rush any player back.
Yeah.
But it's one of those sports situations that like it means something. No medical staff rushes anyone,
sure.
But yeah, with Maxi especially, like you sit him on ice for as long as he needs. But I do think that he will be back. I would be very surprised if he wasn't back this month.
Yeah, it's been a tough start for Maxi in terms of his injuries. Had the ankle sprain going into training camp that he worked back from, was able to play at the beginning of the regular season, but obviously now continuing to deal with the hamstring strain that he'll miss his 4th straight game with that tonight. Let's jump into some of the X factors and some of the things that we think we will see tonight happening between the Mavericks and the Magic at the American Airlines Center. And Tim, I want to start with this one because we heard Jason Kidd talk about it in terms of getting off to a better start. And what we saw against Houston on Thursday on Halloween night, a team in Houston that played with much more aggression, played with much more speed. They were the ones setting the tone really on both ends of the floor, especially on the offensive and defensive glass, more so on the offensive glass when it came to how Houston was out rebounding the Dallas Mavericks. Can the Mavericks start fast and play with a sense of urgency from the opening tip to really set a tone for this game about how they want to dictate pace and how the way the game feels? You're talking about how the game needs to feel from them from an offensive standpoint. It's got to look like that on both ends of the floor, I would think, taking on Orlando tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is stuff that we covered. I do think it starts on the on the defensive glass. I think that's really important for this team to be able to up the tempo. And this is a big team. Orlando has a lot of size.
Yes.
They're a good rebounding team. This is a challenge. I don't think that Dallas is, I don't think Dallas is has to be some below average defensive team. I think they have enough guys on that glass that if everybody's locked in, that they can be a good unit, an above average unit. That this is a challenge, but it bleeds into a lot of the success that Dallas needs to have that, a lot of the stuff that they want to do. You got to end possessions, and there's going to be a lot of missed shots out there. They don't have Paolo. There's not a focal point to the offense necessarily. Certainly not as much as when Paolo's out there. And so there's going to be shots that you got to go run down and grab. And I think that's just a big part of the upcoming game.
Mavericks are 21st in defensive rebounds per game this year at 31.8. So got to be able to crash the glass tonight. Everyone getting involved, boxing out, and being able to collect those rebounds to end those possessions well to keep Orlando off the offensive glass. Shout out to everyone who's in the chat as well. We see Ben Selheim in here. We see Coop here. We see all y'all in the chat. Make sure you continue to like, comment, and subscribe here to DLLS Sports here on YouTube. X factor number 2 for me going into tonight. It started to kind of touch on it in terms of the rebounding for the Mavericks on both the offensive and defensive glass. One of the things that we saw, Tim, against the Houston Rockets that cannot happen tonight, the Mavericks big men have got to stay out of foul trouble for Dallas tonight. We saw Derek Lively get into early foul trouble in the first half against Houston. Daniel Gafford wasn't really effective in that game either. They've got to stay out of foul trouble and dominate on the glass. Their presence on the floor between Lively and Gafford can give them a real advantage against Orlando. They've got to be able to find a way to remain on the floor to make that offense and defensive glass worth it for the Dallas Mavericks tonight.
Please, I am begging. Fewer whistles tonight. Please.
It was a lot of whistles.
Me.
Yes.
This isn't an officiating thing. This is about stopping the game. We like watching basketball. We don't like watching people sit around waiting to play basketball. Please.
Yeah.
Please, fewer fouls. I look,
unless it's Bill Kennedy officiating your game, because I love Bill Kennedy, his officiating and his explanations of adjudication or whatever he likes to talk about when it comes to different plays that happen on the floor.
Fewer fouls, but yes, he can explain a couple times.
Yes,
I'm always pro that. It's not Bill Kennedy tonight, unfortunately.
I know it's not Bill Kennedy tonight. I know,
so now there's no excuse.
That's true.
Stop going to the scorer's table. Just play the game of basketball. That's all I'm asking. And Lively and Gafford. Yes, they pick up fouls sometimes in the course of a game as your rim protecting center. They're going to have foul trouble, but they're not foul-prone players. This is not a situation like Zach Edey or Jaren Jackson Jr. It's funny that both of the Memphis sitters are like probably the two most notable players in the league for getting up in foul trouble. But that's not what Derek Lively. That's not what Gafford. That's not what those players are. Lively early on as a rookie, yeah, it took a little bit of figuring out, and he's still in the process of figuring out exactly what he can get away with and what he can't, and where that line is. But absolutely, I do think that this team can just figure this out, and I think that let's just have a cleaner game.
Yeah, a clean game would be nice. The Mavericks are 24th in the NBA in defensive rebounding percentage this year. Again, got to take care of these defensive possessions by collecting defensive rebounds and get out in transition in a little bit. And the last one for me real quick, play 2 solid halves of basketball. Play a complete game on both the offensive and defensive end. We've seen the Mavericks at times play well on the offensive end, but not well on the other side of the floor. Sometimes we've seen them play well on the defensive end, like they did in the second half against the Minnesota Timberwolves. But again, putting 2 complete halves of basketball together to give themselves a chance to have a complete game. You're going to be led by your big 3 with Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and Klay Thompson. But this team has got to put together a full 48 minutes of basketball to really give you some confidence that they can put it all together tonight against Orlando, because we haven't necessarily seen that through the first 5 games. If they can do that, Tim, I feel like they can come out themselves with a win against a good Orlando team, but a team that's obviously shorthanded without Paolo Banchero tonight.
Kevin, well said. I agree. I've got nothing to add to that. I agree.
There we go. It is time for Mavericks basketball at the AAC. The Mavericks taking on the Orlando Magic. The Mavericks looking for a bounce-back win after losing to Houston on Thursday in Halloween. They look to start off the month of November with a win before they welcome in the Indiana Pacers tomorrow night and Rick Carlisle's group. We'll be back here 15 minutes after the final buzzer for the DLLS Mavericks postgame show. Myself, Tim Cato, Bobby Carella, and our national NBA insider, Mark Stein, going to be recapping the game as the Mavericks take on Orlando. Again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports here on YouTube. And again, we'll see you after the game, 15 minutes after the final buzzer on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. For Tim Cato, I'm Kevin McGray. We're DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you after the game between the Mavericks and the Magic. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.